Did you get that on video that she said I was great? Did we record that part? I can use that for... Okay, good. I can use that for future marketing. Yeah, make sure you get that quote right there.
Make sure we have that.
Yeah, make sure we have that.
That wasn't scripted.
No, it wasn't. So we got to make sure we get that. What's up, everyone? Carla Araujo with Badass Agents. Welcome to another great episode of Women in Real Estate, where we talk about real life with real women. Today, I want to announce my guest, Bree, with Nova Home Loans. Hello, Bree.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on board with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
So you're the first. I haven't had somebody outside of real estate.
That makes me so honored. Seriously, like trendsetter.
I thought I would bring you on board because I want to talk about today. We're talking about sales and what it takes. You know, sales can eat you and spit you out. I mean, you will be left behind if you're not keeping up with the game. So, and I wanted to bring you on because, well, you're a woman and you're in sales. And I want to hear your story in how, first and foremost, let's talk about what do you do? You're with Nova Home Loans.
Yes.
And what is your position there?
So I do business development for the Scottsdale branch. So Jason Smith is my branch manager, and Kyle is also on his team. Kyle Persley is his partner. I do business development for them, which means, so it's kind of twofold. So I work with my loan officers to help them to get in front of agents and build those relationships with agents.
Okay.
But in order to do that, I work with agents.
So you have to kind of, get those agents on board.
Yes.
Let's say. So what approach do you do? What approach do you take?
So that can be done in a lot of ways. My approach is that I like to kind of meet with the agents, kind of figure out, really dig into what is it that's important to them. Figure out, are there things that they're lacking in?
So how can you assist them?
Yes, like how can I assist them? How can I kind of figure out what their niche is? What do they need?
Okay.
So that we can make sure that we're kind of filling those gaps.
What were you doing before home loans? What were you doing before Nova Home Loans?
So right before Nova, I was actually in title.
Okay.
I was on the title side of things.
So were you still in sales and title?
So I was a sales assistant.
Okay, so you weren't face to face.
Yeah, I did
sales so much.
I wasn't like the face, but I worked a lot with agents, so I got to kind of do the back end stuff.
But did you have to bring them on board,
No.
or that was already done?
Yeah.
So this is all new to you.
Yeah. So I actually was kind of just thrown in.
So let's go there. Let's
Okay.
go there, because I want to talk about this part. When you were thrown in, what was your first reaction to, wait a minute, what do you want me to do? Like,
It was
how was
scary.
that?
It was a little scary. So it was kind of, it was a little bit intimidating.
In what sense?
Just because you're really like putting yourself out there. It was kind of just like, okay, so bring us business.
Okay, and you were like, what exactly does that mean?
Yeah,
bring us
like,
business.
It was like, get us in front of agents. And I was like, well, what agents? Like, where do I meet them? And they
where
were
do I
like,
start?
Yeah, like I was like, how do you, like, do agents just like hang out places?
Yeah.
Like, is there like a place that I can just go and like meet them and like wrangle them? Like, there wasn't really like a way that you could just know exactly what to do. I feel like everybody does it in a different way.
So how did you find your niche?
So I started going to just different events. I went on Facebook. So I didn't have a Facebook before this job.
Okay, so you got a Facebook, and how did that
So
how'd that make you feel?
I was strategic about it.
Okay.
So with my Facebook, I was like, I had the idea that I was going to let people know who I was, so that when I walked into a room, people had an idea.
And what exactly
of who I
does
was.
that mean on who you were? Like,
So
what
that
did
they
you
knew-
put? Like, what did you put out there that you wanted them to know about you? Obviously, we hide so much, and we only want people to see outside of us, of all the prettiness. You know, the roses smell great, and the trees are tall and green, or whatever.
It's all puppies and rainbows.
Yeah, it's all puppies and rainbows. So, what was that? What did your Facebook page look like? Don't go into the live videos just yet, because I'm going to get into that. But what did your Facebook? How did you design it for people to like you?
So I thought of just like the things that are important to me. So I have my daughter, and she's my number one in my life. So I was like, I want that to be something that people see that that's a part of my life. Things like I am very big on kindness, on just kind of making an impact on people. And so when I would have thoughts of like different things that kind of different ways to approach ideas that I had. So I was very big on like encouraging people and lifting people up. And I'll be honest with you, when my Facebook kind of took a turn for me was we did a charity, like a donation for an addiction house. And I shared a story about my father because he was a drug addict and I don't know him anymore. And so I shared a part of that, a part of my life with that. And that was a game changer for me.
Okay.
Because I had so many people come to me and be like, thank you for sharing that. Like, I experienced this.
Did you see any loss business, or how did you feel after you posted that? It was it something you shared, or was something a write-up, something you said?
I did a video.
You did a video. Sorry, I missed that part. So you did a video and you discussed that about your father. How did that make you feel afterwards?
So posting it, I was terrified. Like, I posted it at night and I was absolutely terrified because it was something that was really, really personal, and I don't tell a lot of people because
now, did you do that based on because that's something you wanted to do, or was it kind of something that you were like, well, maybe I can draw more people into my page by posting this specific part of my life?
So it was because we were trying to earn money for this specific charity.
So you did it for that reason.
Yeah, and so I was like, you know what? If my story is going to get some more attention for them, then I'll put it out there. Like,
okay, so you did it for that purpose, that reason. It wasn't so much to draw people to your page and sell wise. It was just like, hey, I'm donating and this is what it is.
And this is why this is important to me.
Right. So going back to, we'll get to that part. Going back to the niche, what made something to you that was like, okay, this is what works, that draws attention when I'm calling individuals? What was that?
People, once they got to know kind of who I was and saw that I was like a real person, because I think the reason that worked for me was that it was like I wasn't just this like character.
Right.
Right? I wasn't just this like little blonde girl posting pictures of myself. Like, it wasn't just that. It was, I actually have some depth to me. And so people would be more inclined to want to talk to me. I was posting videos of me and my daughter doing car karaoke.
Okay.
And they were they were embarrassing. I make funny faces when I sing. And people were relating to that and being like, this is actually a person who has depth. So then it gave people something to kind of talk to me about where they knew who I was and were able to kind of.
So again, you had one post that, I'm going to get really deep right now.
Okay.
Which I love this part about about it, because I'm going to get really deep. I'm going to ask you some very uncomfortable questions. That the light's on you, so you have no choice. I have you in this podcast room, so you'll have to answer. I know you're sweating. I know. I love about this. So you post your father, but the reason why you post him is because, well, it's something you're donating to. Thereafter, you're posting nothing but rainbows and unicorns. So when you're posting all that, it got you that comfort of like, okay, I'm not going to post beyond my father now that they saw that vulnerability of me. But it was for a reason and a purpose and cause, I should say. It wasn't for a random reason. It was for a cause, made it more comfortable for yourself. It wasn't if you didn't have that cause, would you had said, hey, my dad's a past drug addict? Would you had said that? Or was it easier for you because it was a cause?
I think it probably was just because it was a cause.
Okay, so going back to posting all, the rainbows, and you're like, okay, now I grabbed these people attention to know who Bree is from Nova Home Loans. Let me continue posting the rainbows out there so people can draw that towards me. Did you feel in a sense that was real? That was obviously you and your daughter singing and you're uncomfortable, but did you ever go past any other uncomfortable live video that you made about yourself on who you truly are?
So I think the silly videos are equally as hard for me, if I'm being totally honest.
And that's where I want to go. So I'm going to go there because silliness is easy. We all do silly things and we act silly, and it's funny because we make people laugh, which goes into, well, people like us. So we just had this conversation, this podcast. Before this podcast, you want everyone to like you. just like a lot of women I know. You want people to like you. So you're constantly kissing people's butts, if you will, and doing everything so perfect. And as women, that's how we show up. We want everyone to like us. We don't want anyone to know that we cuss, we're loud, we're aggressive, we're all these things. So that's where I want to go with you. You're constantly being that person, right? You want to be liked. So when do you find yourself like, hey, enough is enough? Like, do you ever get to that point, or are you constantly? Do you ever get to that uncomfortable point and then you kind of back off in your marketing?
I think that I'm trying to think. As far as like getting to a point of like enough is enough, I think for me at least, because like I've shared with you that I always was very just middle of the road, like everything is put together,
right.
I guess is the word. So for me, to be totally honest, like the silliness doesn't come easy.
Right. So the silliness of it, then what do you do to be consistent in the silly videos?
To be consistent in them? What do you mean?
Because you're consistent, constantly making these videos. I see you on Facebook with your daughter. And it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
So how do you keep that consistency on making the silly videos?
I think that it's because I've got this like 9-year-old that has brought that out in me. That's like a part of me now. And so being able to, that is a part that has kind of like changed in me from when I was younger. That's part of kind of being okay with myself and being okay with this can be a part of you. You don't have to be put together all the time. You don't have to always kind of show up and have like the picture that you're like, you look okay. Sometimes you're going to make a weird face, and sometimes like the camera is going to be looking straight up your nostrils.
So are you consistent in throwing content out there in regards to your business on what you do? Are you clearing your message on Facebook?
I think that my message is fairly consistent.
How much do you do of those live videos on business?
On business?
And your clear message of who you are and what product you sell and what you do.
That I don't. I think that the way that I've set up my Facebook is different than the way that I don't have it set up as like a business page.
No,
so
I totally get it. I don't think a lot of people do. Well, I'm not going to say a lot of people don't, but what I'm saying is I totally get it that you're not. But how are you clear in your message and what you do?
In what I do? So I think that depends. I think that the way that you're asking is a little bit different. So I don't put out there, hi, I do business development for Nova Home Loans. Here are the loan officers that I have. What I put out there is, here's who I am, because this is a relationship business. This real estate is all about building relationships.
Right.
That's who we are. And that's, I think, for agents as well. Like, it's building those relationships. It's having them, you're selling yourself.
Right.
So a person who wants to be around me and wants to know who I am I've had a lot of people reach out to me because they're just like, hey, you're that girl who whatever, like you gave this message and I thought that it was great. I've had agents who reached out to me.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because I want to take a little turn on this. I've had several women in here that I've had conversations interviewed on real estate. And we go two ways. One way is the female will say, you know what, I'm great at sales. And I'm constantly selling myself in a sense of sharing my life, my kids, my family, and all that. But when it comes to actually selling my business, to literally going on a live video, and this is what I do, and this is my product, on a consistent basis is really hard for people because they are not, they're not confident in what they sell. They still kind of, in a sense, feel like they're going to be questioned or judged by selling that product, their business, their company. But they're comfortable doing the silly videos and sharing their family and all that. I get that part of it, but how comfortable are you to go consistently selling that part of you in sales on who Bri is?
Oh, no, I am confident in that.
So that's why I'm asking
I have a balance of it.
Okay, so how did you find yourself? Is it through silly videos that you made that got through that part of yourself, getting into the confidence of selling, Bri? So how did you overcome that fear? Through the silly videos? So how did you, because you've never been in sales before. This is like the first time, right? So how did you overcome that fear is where I'm trying to kind of get more of you.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that it's kind of just, for me, I kind of put on the hat of like, this is just like actions. So when I'm doing if I'm having to sell something, so for example, like if I've got a class that's coming up, or if I've got a product that we're trying to get out there, or if I've got a loan officer that I'm trying to like market, if I've got, that's something it is going to have kind of a different, it's got my personality to it still, but it's got a different approach than a video that's just me and my daughter. Right? So a video that's just me and my daughter just kind of having fun, that's why an agent may pick up the phone for me, is because they've heard my name and they've seen it and it's been out there. And so they may pick up the phone. And then when I call them and I'm like, hey, this is Bri from Nova, they're like, that name's familiar. Where have I seen her?
And it's a connection.
And it's a connection there. But then I can be like, hey, so I actually was thinking about you. And we've got this great class coming up because there's X, Y, and Z coming out. And I was really looking at what you've been doing. And I was thinking, like, what if we sat down and we talked about this way that you could improve these things?
Have you ever had a hang up? No.
I have.
How have you handled that?
This is so bad. I play dumb. So totally use the one.
In what sense?
So I will call them back or email them and be like, I think we had a bad connection.
Did you hang up on me?
The call disconnected. I think that there's something happened to the phone. This was so weird. Because I assume positive intent, and here's the thing. I know that agents get 5 million lender calls a day. They do. Like, any good agent is getting a lot of lender calls a day. I don't take it personally if you hang up on me. I think that if you hang up on me, it means that we did not have enough of a connection for you to feel like I should be calling you. And so I get that. And so I think that then it's my job to figure out a different way to connect with you. Like, that's what I'm doing in sales here. And so I've had somebody literally tell me, like, you know what I could use is you not calling me. And I said, and I was like, okay, I am so sorry. I absolutely do not at all mean to like bother you. I know that you are so busy. Can I send you an email? And he was like, no, I don't mean to be rude. And
how long have you been in sales?
So I've been doing like sales in real estate for 2.5 years, 3 years now. It's been
what
3
has
years.
been your hardest obstacle? Like, what has been the hardest thing being in sales?
Let me think. The hardest thing in sales is probably that I'm trying to think. Being able to, I'm not pushy. I think that I'm very much a person who I really genuinely want everybody to be successful. And I think there's room for everybody to have success. I genuinely do. So I think that I believe in our company the most. Obviously, that's why I'm here.
What have you found the most part of you being in the company for 2.5 years? What have you found more about yourself? Like, have you found something about yourself that you're like, okay, I can do better in this position doing X, Y, and Z? What have you found the most difficult part?
I think so. Actually, Jason challenged me with this. And I will always appreciate it because I hated being on the phones. I had a job that was like 5 years ago that I had to just sit at a phone and like rapid dial. And so I could make phone calls, but I hated it. And I was just like, it sucks. And he was like, no, but it works. Like, if you do it like this. And I was like, Jason, that just doesn't work. And it's just not, I hate it. Like, people aren't going to like me on the phone. I sound like a Kardashian. Like, that's just not my thing. And he was like, you can totally do this if you, like, his thing was like, you need to like get your teeth out. Like, that was what his like thing was. And that was something that I was like, all right. I was like, fine. You know what? I'm a really stubborn person. And so I am the type of person who I'm like, you know what? Fine. I'll try it. Like, that's fine. I will absolutely do it. And it worked.
Do you see yourself doing anything else other than being in Nova Home Loans? What do you see for yourself?
Honestly, I just want, like, for my life, I want to be able to make an impact on people. And I think that with Nova, I can do that. I think that for me is like the life that I want.
Okay. So aside of Nova, what does Bri want?
This is such a like cliche answer. I want my daughter to be happy. Well,
we can't make our children happy.
Well,
we don't make our children happy.
I guess that's true.
They have to find their own happiness. What does Bri want outside of Nova?
Let me think. I want to be able to provide a life for my daughter. I want financial independence to be able to provide the things for my daughter that she needs.
So
and
what
that
do
she
you see
wants.
for yourself and outside of Nova?
In what sense? What do you mean?
So if you didn't have Nova, Nova didn't exist, what do you see yourself at?
I still think that I would be in a company working and like striving to better myself and better kind of like impact other
So
people.
sales is it for you?
Yeah.
You enjoy sales?
I do. I think I never would have thought that because I never saw myself being a person who's I'm not like a salesy person. I never ever would have expected that. But I think so.
Going back to the question of you overcoming the fear of public, of putting a video out there. What blocked you from doing that in the first place?
The fear of looking dumb.
Of not being clear in your message?
Yeah, like because when you put something out there, people can judge you.
Right. So where did you find that judgment to come in you? Like we don't make something and we think we're being judged. It comes from somewhere. So why did you feel like
I'll be totally
putting
honest
content
with you.
out there, people were going to judge you?
I had a relationship that the person that I was with completely defeated me and told me that like I was not interesting. Nobody cared about me. It was 100% ingrained in me that like the word worthless was used.
That one video that you made for the first time, how did that make you feel?
It actually it made me feel really relieved because I was like, okay, I did that.
Right.
Like, it was like, all right, I did it. I got through it. Like, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I rewatched it and was like, oh my God, like, I've got like, whatever.
So those are
just,
those making those videos were little baby steps of going out there and becoming that salesperson that you need to be, being, aggressive in a sense, going after what you want. So you seeing yourself that financially, you want to see yourself financially set. Where do you see yourself falling short in that sense of wanting more? Like, what's next? Are you going to stay at Nova, or what is next for Bri? How do you see yourself? Do you feel like, in a sense, you still kind of feel like, am I, good enough to see what else is next? Or your mindset is just at Nova? I think Nova's a great company, and we work with Nova. But I'm talking to Bri, not Nova. So how do you see yourself, or what do you see yourself in your mind? Like, what is stopping you from becoming that independent entrepreneur and besides Nova?
Well, I think that
Have you saw yourself doing something else is what I'm asking. Now that you're here, because you never imagined yourself being here.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm getting at. So where did you see yourself? What is next? Because I know for me, it wasn't just Carla stopping at being an IFBB pro on stage. It was like, okay, what's next? Okay, let me start, I don't know, going back to my company and marketing hardcore and going aggressive and starting to know more of me. Okay, what's next? Let's start a women movement. Okay, what's next? Let's write a book. Okay, what's next? Let's start Women in Real Estate podcast. What's next? Let's start Do the Work podcast. So it never ends for me. It's a constant go. And why I became so good at what I do by the repetitions that I put in public speaking. I've been invited to speak in over 100 men. I'm constantly invited to conferences, go speak here, go speak there. I'm going all over the place. I become phenomenal at what I do through repetition. So I'm always asking myself, it's not just about A's and Associates. It's okay, what's next? What else can I do to keep going and continue that fire within me? Because there's always more within us. So you're keep going and going back again. Nova's a great company, and we work for them. But I want to know more about Bri. So right now, put your sales personality down, okay, because you keep selling that part of you. And this podcast is to be all in with what you've been going through as a woman in sales. So put that sales business attitude, personality away. We don't need it. What we need right now is to know a little bit more about Bri. So do you see more of yourself in the game of life?
Yeah, I think that, so right now I'm in kind of like a weird spot in my life because I feel like, so last year was hard for me, like personally. It was kind of like dark for me and not feeling a lot of like hope for there even being a future. And then things kind of turned towards like honestly, like the beginning of this year, things really kind of like flipped for me. Where it was like having that thought of, okay, no, there is more.
Right.
And I feel like there's like steps of like, you figure out, okay, no, there is actually more.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, but what is that more? And I'm in that phase of really finding myself and figuring out, like, what does that look like for me? And I don't necessarily have those answers. And I'm trying to really be kind of excited about that because I lived a life for 10 years of
Trapped.
Yes, I was completely trapped and I was living somebody else's life and I didn't have an identity and I didn't have a lot of just my own goals, my own dreams, I was living somebody else's life and being told that it was my own and being told that it was for me and being told, and it wasn't.
Right.
And so now I'm in a place of kind of figuring out, okay, so I really do have so much.
Yes, you do.
That's like I can do. What exactly does that look like for me? I mean, down to things like if people asked me, like, what do you like to do? I was like,
because you never had those moments to think for yourself or to process what actually is next. So I love that because that's why I was asking you, okay, we see Bri feared the public. Bri feared, she never had a Facebook page. She didn't have anything a couple of years back, 2 years ago. So now coming 2 years, Bri's a completely different person and she's caught herself in sales. It's like, okay, who do you want me to call? Where do I start? So now you're making these videos, putting yourself out there. You're in sales now, and now you teach other people how to be in sales, right? But in order to teach, you have to share all the fear that you've gone through. And what does that fear look like? Well, it looks really ugly. So it wasn't pretty. And that's more of the Bri that I'm trying to get right now. I'm not trying to get the business Bri because we get it.
The one that fits in the box?
Yeah, I don't want that Bri because we get that Bri. I want more of the Bri. What are you going to show? Hey, these are the steps that you need to take to get out there more. And it's reps. It's constantly putting yourself out there. You did the whole father thing. That was because it was a cause. So it was really, really easy. Selling yourself as Bri for Nova Homes is really, really easy because now you're selling yourself under a business, right? So that's all really easy. But when we go and close a deal, that becomes the hardest part. Because you're like, get a yes, please get a yes, please make get a yes. That's like the hardest part. So that's what I want to know. Like how, and so you feared a lot because of a lot of things that you went in through your past. How did you overcome all that? That's the part of the Bri that I want to know right now. Because with me, Carla overcame Carla through continues of reps of not only discussing my anxiety part, my depression part, my abuse part, like it went on and on and on and on and on. And I didn't stop for a second to think of what the public thought about me or what other opinions were because it would have stopped me in my track or I would have slowed down. But, you know, I said it on many podcasts and many live videos. I don't care what people. Sure, I do. I do. We all care what people think about us. Mm-hmm. But the repetition is what kept me going. And then I started understanding my own self in a sense, like my own voice. Like, wait a minute, is that true? I really don't care what people think in a sense because I keep going. But it's only natural to care. So I want to know the Bri part of it. Like, how did you keep that consistent and that's the Bri part that I want to know. How hard was that? Share that with us. Share Bri. So leave the business Bri alone. We get it. You're a phenomenal businesswoman. We get it. But how hard was that, Bri? How many times? Every time you made a video with your daughter or your business video, like you say you made business video, like how do you want people to see you? Like how hard was that?
I think it's definitely hard. It's something that having to overcome because I think I was definitely battling like insecurity. I mean,
all right, we get a word. We get that specific word that every woman is feared, like doesn't want to say that, insecure, like you were insecure.
100%. I think that like as much as I would always kind of put off an aura of like being confident, and people always like I had so many people be like, "Oh my God, you are not insecure. Like you're the least."
Oh, I used to get that all the time. Yeah,
all the time, and I was like, "No, I actually am probably one of the most insecure people you've ever met in your life." Like
I used to tell people, "I'm more afraid of you than you are of me. I'm just showing up like powerful because I used to show up like completely happy and like silent. I was never really me. So everybody was like, oh, how can you be insecure? Like you're constantly on stage with these shows. And I'm like, no, I got more afraid of you than you are of me. This is all just an act.
Yeah. Well, and I think like you and I show that in so like different ways. And I was always just very like my insecurity was I was always like put together. And don't get me wrong, I like getting dressed up. And part of me accepting myself is being okay with that. And being okay with being like, you know what? Like, I am a person who, I have 200 pairs of shoes and I love every pair of them. But I have to be okay with being like, you know what? Yeah, that is a part of me. But also, there's times when I'll go 4 days without washing my hair. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Like, it's all right for me to be whichever version of that I want to be. And I don't have to come in a certain version of me. All of those versions are okay.
Right.
And figuring out how to be okay with every one of those versions is what was really, really difficult for me, I think, because I had that like insecurity that like people aren't going to like me unless I'm this specific version of me. And if I look this certain way and if I talk this certain way and if I mean, even down to I say the word like a lot and I have sounded like a Valley girl since before a Valley girl was a thing. And since I was little, I didn't even know what that was. And I would get made fun of as a child. And so I would try to change the way the inflection of my voice was. And I got to a point where I was just like, you know what? You don't make fun of somebody who comes from Texas.
Yeah.
Like, we're not making fun of people. That would just be mean. But you're making fun of me.
So it kind of stuck with you in so many ways.
Yeah. And so it kind of, but I had to just kind of own it and be like, you know what? That's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you can go ahead and think what you want, and I'm going to still be me.
Right. No, that's great. I think you show such, you're just being you, I think allows other women to see that vulnerability side of you. That gives them such an open window to understand, like, we're not the only women that go through this. There's so many of us that go through this. And so I love the women that I bring on this podcast because they're willing to share and they already know me. So they come in and they're like, oh, man, I'm so uncomfortable. She's going to ask me some uncomfortable questions. Yes, I am, because I want to break through. And some are easier and some are hard because some are just stuck in their ways. Like, nope, not talking, Carla, not talking. Because, I think it's so incredibly awesome that we come into these podcasts and because we are sales and we're in sales and we're women in sales, and it has to be one of the hardest positions that we are. I mean, obviously we are definitely getting up there, being entrepreneurs, being out there. Real estate is difficult. So thank you for sharing some of your stories with us. I truly appreciate that. And thank you for being a guest with me.
Thank you so much for having me. It makes me so happy.
No, I thank you. But again, if you are interested in joining AZ & Associates Real Estate Group, go to badassagents.com and apply, and we will reach out to you. But our discussion in regards to just putting yourself out there, being you, little by little, step by step, you don't have to go all in, but just a little bit, sharing yourself goes a long way. If you're new to social media, it has to be the hardest thing to do. But, just kind of get your feet wet a little bit. It feels good. Sales is awesome. Don't let it eat you and spit you out alive. So if you're interested in joining AZ & Associates Real Estate Group, go to Badass Agents and apply, and somebody will reach out to you. Everyone have a great day. Bye.